I'm Claudine Wong, joining you from KTVU in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I'm joined now by Adam Jacobs, a incredibly talented photographer who is sharing some of the work he is doing and how he's trying to also help in this COVID crisis. Adam, thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, Claudine. Thanks so much for having me.
So, like so many of us, the world kind of just stopped as this pandemic took over. Tell me about the work that you're doing now. I know that you have a charity store and a way that you're trying to give back. You obviously haven't been able to do everything that you had planned, but you have these amazing pictures that I think um, are trying to be able to share and help at the same time. I'll pull some of them up as we're talking.
Yeah, thank you, Claudine. Thanks so much for asking that. I think uh, it's such a difficult time for everyone at the moment, and as a photographer, I've been trying to do everything that I can to help those in our community who are suffering during this time. And given the shelter-in-place order, I was thinking, what can I do to help those in need? And I decided to set up this charity photo store, selling some limited edition runs of some of my most popular prints to help local charities doing fantastic work to help those who the most vulnerable in our society, whether that be the elderly, whether that be helping provide PPE for those on the front lines, whether that be helping nurses, doctors, the homeless, those experiencing mental health issues due to the pandemic. There's just such a broad array of people who have been affected by this crisis. And I wanted to do what I could, my little part that I could, to really help those who are suffering at this time.
There's so much. This is one of the photos that people can buy, and it makes me a little homesick for the world that we used to know. I mean, I think even just looking at all those lights on in those buildings in downtown when all the people used to go to work normally, it's a different
Yeah,
space.
the pictures that I've chosen to make available for purchase are really helping maybe bring the beauty of the bay back into your home at this time where perhaps we can't get out and experiencing it, whether it's this gorgeous shot of downtown San Francisco with these lovely cobalt blues, or whether it's feeling like we need to reconnect with nature at this time where perhaps we can't get out as much as we want to. Can we bring like the beauty and serenity and silence that we need to perhaps be mindful at this time, that can really help bring some peace where everything may feel quite chaotic or stressful to us. Hopefully some of these pictures can help bring a little bit of joy to our homes while giving something back to our community. So as you flick through these are all taken around the bay, throughout the peninsula. This picture is taken just down Highway 1. And hopefully they're full of vivid colors, they're big, they're bright, they're bold, and to hopefully, just as I say, brighten our days in these slightly perhaps dark and depressing times. And I don't want to say dark and depressing times too much, because I think we can all find positives in during this crisis. And what I'm hoping to do with this photo store is really raise proceeds, and it's been incredibly successful so far. It's been running just for a couple of weeks. I'm hoping to run it till the end of May. And I appreciate any support. I know it's a difficult time for many, but any support that people can need. The all proceeds from these photos is going to charities such as Family House at UCSF, which supports kids with life-threatening illnesses, helping feed their families and keep them nourished. It's supporting charities such as Pledge to Humanity, doing fantastic food drives to the elderly and to the seniors, or whether it's even another great charity in our neighborhood, Bay Area Community Services, helping provide mental health and housing services for the thousands in our community who need those at this time of need, even more pressing, I think, during this pandemic.
It's really incredible. There is so much good work being done. Has it just helped you as well? I mean, we're all going a little stir crazy. We all feel, I think, a little bit helpless. So, in addition to the pictures bringing us back and bringing us some comfort, I think a lot of people I talk to say they also felt compelled to just not feel so helpless and find a way to be a part of solutions and being a part of community.
Yeah, that's a great question, Claudine. And it's definitely, as a photographer, obviously with the shelter in place orders, it's really hit our industry hard, being able to go out and do the work I normally can do. And building this charity store has given me a sense of purpose and given me something that helped, has helped me get through these difficult times,
Yeah.
and while hopefully helping raise proceeds to help others, but help me feel a sense of purpose. So
Yeah.
yes, definitely.
Because your life was turned upside down like so many of us, just as you just mentioned that you had an exhibition that was about to get underway that had to be canceled. And I want to talk about your photography because it's so it takes a ton of work. That some of the pictures we just saw were, I don't want to say more straightforward, but I want to pull up some pictures from your exhibition because these are pictures that really are, they're just different from what people I think have normally seen in photography.
Yeah, thanks so much, Claudine. And quite right, I was meant to have an exhibition in San Francisco, and in LA, and actually in New York. Right at the moment, actually today, I was meant to be in Orlando. So as a photographer who travels all over the place, it's really curtailed most of my plans. And this picture that we currently see on screen was one of the photos that was meant to be exhibited. As a photographer, I'm always aiming to provide unique, original, authentic work that people haven't seen before. And this portrayal of the Golden Gate Bridge, I actually myself suffer with a medical condition that provides, well, it actually makes me live with chronic dizziness and migraines. And this shot, which I'm actually dangling out a helicopter looking straight down on the Golden Gate Bridge, is meant to provide a window into my migrainous world where there's lots of lines and form and symmetry and balance. And it's meant to make you really look hard at this picture, see all the detail, and really eye-popping colors. And I blow these up very, very large format. And they're meant to really provide a very different perspective on perhaps one of the world's most photographed subjects.
Right. I've seen a
But
lot
you're
of pictures
seeing
of the Golden Gate Bridge, but I haven't seen this
exactly. We've
perspective.
seen a lot of pictures of the Golden Gate Bridge, but hopefully you've never seen it quite shot like this. And
Mhm.
that's the aim. You kind of look at it once, you think, well, that's interesting. And then you take another look at it and another look at it. And every time you look at it, you see something different. You see
You
the
could
boats
stand there
coming in.
looking forever at it. This is the view of the cities as well. It's hard for me to imagine, what it
Exactly.
took like for you personally to take this photo and how long it took you to put the photos of after hanging out
Yeah,
above together.
and these shots are. Thanks for asking that, Claudine. These shots are all composites of many different pictures stitched together, which allows me to provide really great detail in the photograph. And when you see them, you see these shapes and forms. But when you look much closer, you start to see the details of the buildings, of the people, of the forms. Here in this photo, you can see the entire bay. I call this photo City by the Bay because you can see Alcatraz, you can see the Bay Bridge, you see the whole of downtown San Francisco, you see the East Bay behind. But it creates these, by providing this slightly distorted, warped view that we never usually see, all of a sudden the city is metamorphosed into
Hmm.
this shape and lines and interesting patterns
I got to
that
tell
we
you, when I
never
look at the
usually.
bottom of that photo, it makes me dizzy.
Yeah, well, well, hopefully makes you dizzy kind of in a good way. And
In a
to
good
really
way.
appreciate this, we need to see them really blown up large so you can see all the detail. Um,
Hmm.
but and and this one I particularly is
Wow.
particularly popular, where you see all the cars coming in, and it really shows the bustle and the flow of a downtown metropolis that shows how busy kind of the financial center that FIDI is, of downtown San Francisco,
It took me a
that
second
all
to recognize
centered
it.
in this stuff. Yeah, so sometimes they are a bit unrecognizable. And we have to take, as I say, we have to take a closer look. But my aim in all of these pictures is to kind of produce interesting lines, patterns, and form and structure, which is and they're big and bold and colorful, which is a kind of a
And
congruent.
Adam Jacobs,
It's kind of my signature
signature. Yes.
style. Exactly. Even here, this is actually showing the hills of San Francisco, but from above. So it's kind of warped and shows more of the residential
Hmm.
neighborhoods. But again, we've got these kind of bold colors. It's kind of saturated in sunshine, golden light. But you take a closer look and you start to see each individual home. You start to see the cars. You start to see people on the sidewalk. When you first look, it just looks like this dizzying array of lines and patterns and shapes that creates, I think, a very interesting aesthetic, and what I hope is something very unique that people haven't seen before.
I imagine people at
And
your
as
show
I said,
just sitting there and staring for a long time,
yeah, and
even
prior
trying
to
to
this
decipher.
crisis, this is downtown New York. That I wanted to kind of make it look like it was exploding out of the canvas, exploding out of the wall that you were visiting on. Um, and as I said, prior to COVID, I was busy exhibiting all of these pictures. I was busy working on a series of shooting all of these cities. Um, I was actually working on a number of more cities, shooting them, which I've had to put a pause on because obviously I can't go out at the moment. But hopefully, I'm going to continue that once the shelter-in-place orders are lifted. But these ones are of New York in a very similar style. This is all the bridges running into Manhattan, and they again are hopefully something that is very original and unique and authentic, that when blown up large has a certain appeal, and have been extremely popular
Yeah.
amongst collectors and people who just want to have a talking piece rather than something that perhaps is their more postcardy picture. So I'm looking to just provide something that is more interesting, and people can really have a talking piece on their walls.
Yeah, I'm wondering how this pandemic has kind of also influenced you, because all your work is very personal. It is a look into your migrantess world and what you've had experienced. It's a look into you. How is this changing in terms of how you see the world around you? Because you and I have done stories before based on your the condition that actually led you to photography in the first place, and now as you kind of make your way through your career and you have a different space, has this changed the way you also look at the world? I can pull this video up as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think for all of us, I think it's changed the way we look at the world. It's forced us to kind of take a step back, reflect, and as a photographer, I think we always are, and me personally, it's as I've been having to take some time to think about my work and reflect upon my career, I can really start thinking about where I want to focus my work. But also, it's given me an opportunity to, when I've been able to, I'm very fortunate and I live in an area where I have some open space where I can get out and enjoy. I've been able to kind of get out and practice, and I find photography very meditative. So for me, in this time where perhaps anxiety levels can be higher amongst people, and a lot of uncertainty, photography for me, I find, is a therapy. So I enjoy going out and taking pictures, even just as a pastime, not necessarily for a commercial purpose or as my career. I'm always taking pictures, just constantly honing my craft. And throughout this last 2 months and during this crisis, to me, I just find it very meditative and very therapeutic to constantly be taking pictures, constantly be doing personal work, which I think just constantly improves me as a photographer.
Yeah, I think any way that we can just find a space that gives us some kind of peace
Ex-
is
exactly.
helpful as well. I mean, because it is just a different world that we're living in. You have done some of these other ones, these other portraits, though, as well as we talked about, I mean, this has been an interesting thing as people try to document. There's some part of every photographer, whether they, were doing landscape or they're doing product or whatever they were doing. I think I find that I'm talking to photographers who feel a need to also kind of document this moment in history and in time. And so much of that is just how people, in our relationships are changing. How have you liked doing, as we call them, portraits?
Yeah, it's such a special time for everyone that I just felt an urge to be able to document this and creating these portraits, which is the opportunity to be able to photograph people from a safe physical distance while kind of on their porch. And I've just found that it's just fascinating to be able to see how people are interacting with one another. I think to the subjects, they're particularly enjoying it and being able to this unique and unforgettable time in our that's never really happened before. It's a memory for them. I've been doing these shoots and giving back the proceeds again to charity. But for me, again, it's an opportunity as a photographer. We're always interested in documenting these unforgettable times. That's, I think, part of our job. Is how can we document and freeze unforgettable moments? And photography has that innate ability to be able to capture moments in time. And this is a complete, like, unprecedented moment in time. And as a photographer, I feel it's almost my obligation, as much as I can, to be able to capture this moment in time. And by offering these portrait series, which I've had an unbelievable response to since I put them out a couple of weeks ago, and as I say, people have been really enjoying them and getting a lot out of them. It's amazing how people just want to pose on their porches and just document the time with their loved ones and whoever they're sheltering in place with, whether that's their family or friends. And me being able to capture that, I find that very fulfilling. And then being able to give that to the subject and then being able to look at them all as a series together. It's very interesting to kind of get a snapshot of our communities, our neighborhoods, our cities, and the variety of how people are managing during this crisis. I think is extremely interesting.
I think, and I love the joy in the faces of the people that you took photographs of as well, because even though it's difficult, I think there is light behind the clouds and there's beauty in everything we look at. And interestingly, I think the still photography, there are some times when there's, it's video that you remember or the still, but it feels like we are in this still time when we're just, there's so much quiet, whether we want it or not, on our streets. And I think you capture that just so amazingly well in all the different photographs you're taking. Let's share the screen so people understand too that Adam Jacobs Photography, if they're thinking, okay, well, how do I get my hands on some of these? This is your store that you set up on adamjacobsphotography.com, and it has all the different pictures where people can easily just go and find their favorites and purchase.
Yeah, so if you can visit adamjacobsphotography.com, and there's a link directly to the COVID store there that I've set up, where I'm selling everything for heavily discounted rates, but all proceeds going to the charities that are listed there, which are all directly helping those affected by the pandemic. You can also there, if you wish, there's more information on the portraits that I'm doing, which I'm delighted to capture anyone who, as I say, I'd like to capture the joy and light behind what's going on during this pandemic. I don't really want to capture the darkness. I want to let's capture the special moments that are going on, the fact that we're getting to spend this time with family and friends. And if I can capture that unforgettable moment for you, I think that's a special time. And I think by showing that in still photography is incredibly powerful. So you can find lots more information at adamjacobsphotography.com, both how to hopefully, please, if you can, give generously on the print sales, and also more information on the portraits. So thank you, Claudine.
Thank you for sharing your art and your photography with us, and using it to help others during this difficult time. It's always great to talk to you.
Yeah, so lovely to speak to you, Claudine. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And for more interviews, you can, of course, go to coronavirusnow.com. Thanks so much for joining us.